We are going to get started. Thanks for jumping on. I'm sure there will be other people jumping on as well throughout the call, but we want to get started. We respect your time and we want to get this amazing information to you. My name is Keith McMullen. I'm CEO of Sukavu, and I'm really excited to actually bring this to you today. We as a company, we've been around for, almost 3 years, but we've actually been making product since actually 2013. So it's been quite a while. And that leads me to my good friend and partner, Zane Gray. And he's been making all sorts of different products, literally probably hundreds of different products, maybe even thousands of different products with cannabinoids since 2013. So it's pretty amazing what he has done. I'm really excited about it. Even you would think that, it's almost been 10 years that I've heard about this, that I wouldn't be excited about it anymore, but I am excited about it. And the reason why I'm excited about it is because of what it can do for us and for our immune system. So I'm really excited to hear from him. But let me just tell you, just to bring you up to date a little bit on some information I know that we had talked about before, is some testimonials. One of my really good friends, he's an orthopedic surgeon here in the States. He lives right up the street from me. He and his wife, she's actually a nurse. They're in Peru right now, and they're helping some of the kids and out in the I guess in the jungles of Peru right now, helping them with some operations. They're doing some things. There were probably about 25 of them that went to Peru to help with this. So they're going to be doing some testimonials for us, but it's going to be a couple weeks. So when they be helping us with that. There's also another nurse that's a good friend of my wife, Crystal. She is going to be doing another testimonial from us. And we've got 2 or 3 chiropractors as well doing testimonials. All of that's going to be happening within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then you can have access to that. You can use those testimonials to help other people to see what really has happened with endocannabinoids, how it affects us. So it's really quite exciting about what's going on. I'm really excited to help bring that to pass. And I'm excited for you guys. And I'm really excited for what Mr. Zane Gray is going to talk about today, because he's going to bring you a ton of information in a relatively short period of time. And like I said before, I've known Zane for almost 10 years, and we've been partners for a long time. We've been friends for even longer. So I'm really excited to hear from him and what he has to tell you guys. So please do us a favor, do yourselves a favor, take some good notes, get some, if you take notes on your computer or take notes on paper and pen, whatever you need to do, because we're going to hear from Zane Gray. So again, thank you guys for jumping on the Zoom this morning. And without any further ado, Zane Gray. Zane, you there, buddy?
I am. Thank you guys so much for jumping on. I'm just having my wife, who happens to be sitting next to me, mute hers, and I am going to jump into what we were training on today. We're going to talk about our immune systems. I want to first take a moment and thank Dr. Raymond. I was fortunate yesterday to be on a call with him, and we talked for about an hour actually, and we talked about some of the things we're going to talk about today. And my favorite thing about that conversation, and I told this to my wife when I came home, I said, he gets it. He gets it. He understands our mission and what we've been talking about. And it makes me so happy to hear him and to listen to him and learn from him. And so I'm going to dive right into cannabinoids and our immune system. The first thing I will tell you is that I'm not very good at making things look pretty. So there's going to be a lot of words, but I'm going to try to do my best to explain it and explain it simply so that you understand why our cannabinoids are so important to helping us live a healthy life. We always have to say this at the beginning of anything that we do. You should always work with a doctor anytime you're adding a supplement or anything into your system. We're not telling you this to diagnose, treat, or talk about any type of illness specifically, but we are going to talk about your immune system. And I will talk about a couple of diseases in this conversation, simply because we want to talk about how the cannabinoid system works with those diseases. So everything we're going to talk about is going to be researched and scientifically. I can share the research. I can even share this presentation, and I've included all of the links so that if you want to look it up yourself, you can. Most of what I'm talking about is NIH research-based studies. We're going to talk about the basics of viruses, and I will particularly talk about coronavirus because that's on a lot of people's minds. I'm going to talk about CBG and CBD, and we're going to talk about other cannabinoids as well, and whether they help or they hurt our immune system. And we're also going to talk about the ACE2 receptor and how it interacts with cannabinoids. So again, hopefully very informational, but I'm going to start with some basics. I know we've got some amazing doctors on, so this is very simple stuff that they deal with on a daily basis. But when I talk about all the people who are coming to learn a little bit about our immune system, I just want you to understand that viruses need a host cell so that it can make more of the virus. And that's really what a virus does. It gets entry into the cell and it uses keys or chemical keys on the outside of its shell to get access into the cell. And once it's inside of our cells, it hijacks our machinery and it makes copies of it. And once it makes a copy of it, then it goes out and it replicates, and that's get released into our body. That is the very basics of viruses. And when it's doing that, it can quickly get out of control. So there are 4 stages to look at when we're talking about viruses into our body. The first is entry into our body and how it gets into our cells, how it binds to the cell, how it replicates more, and then how it releases. Those are the 4 stages of viruses getting into our system. I believe there are 2 things that we really need to worry about. The first of that is how fast it replicates. And the second thing is our immune response to that rate, how our immune system is responding to how fast it replicates. When our immune system's response is overactive, our immune system can be partly to blame. Most of the time, the immune system response isn't too severe. This is, again, a researched study. But what I want to talk about a little bit as we talk about our immune system is it can create what's known as a cytokine storm. Rather than fighting off the infection, the immune system is sending, it's sending cytokines, and it can create an overabundance of those cytokines that floods the body, and that creates a cytokine storm. That storm is what they believe why so many people died from the flu in 1918. Was because of the storm. It wasn't so much the flu, as that our body and cytokines, which are part of our immune system, our body was overreacting, which is why one type of cold, which, coronavirus is a type of coronavirus, a cold is, it goes away, while the newest coronavirus that we've seen throughout the world that can kill people. What killed people in 1918 wasn't the virus, but it was the immune system's response to that virus. So the way our immune system works with viruses, understand that our immune system is fairly complex, but I try to keep it really simple and explain it simply. Our body's immune system has some initial steps that it takes anytime we get an infection or like a virus. It increases in body temperature, right? We get a fever, which generally helps slow down viral replication. We also have a drop in tryptophan. We also have a drop in serotonin when that happens, which is why a lot of people feel they're in a bad mood, they're cranky, they don't feel good when they're sick. And the reason is because your body is trying to starve out the protein that a virus or a bacteria needs to make more, right? So your body's pretty intelligent, it's smart, it's trying its best to starve out this bacteria. And part of that is just built into your immune system. It's just what God gave you, right? And another part is adaptive, because if we had a previous infection, then our body has learned from that experience what it needs to do in order to kill the virus. And that, honestly, that is the basis for vaccines. That's how vaccines are created generally, right? Is that it's adaptive. Our body learns from it. So here are the players. I want to understand who's playing in the immune system. We have natural killer cells, or NK cells. We have T cells. Those are the generals of the immune system, and they give commands to the rest of the cells that are going to go fight. We have macrophages. These they literally eat the viruses, and then they're excreted, right? That's why we blow our nose. Your immune system's basic defensive approach, its basic approach is this: detect the infected cells and initiate cell death. And that process is called apoptosis. And Dr. Raymond and I yesterday, we were talking about this. I was so excited because as we were talking about how cannabinoids work and they can help with this apoptosis, it just, that resonates so well. This is why it's so important to have your endocannabinoid system working and functioning and doing really well. So that's the basics of who is playing. And that's important because that process, that whole process is under the direction and control of the endocannabinoid system. I want to say that again. It's important because it's under the direction and control of your endocannabinoid system, where cannabinoids like CBG and CBD work. And if your endocannabinoid system isn't functioning properly or it isn't working well, that can create problems with your immune system. So your endocannabinoid system is balanced. It has a task, and its job is to balance all of our other systems, like the endocrine system, your nervous system, and of course, your immune system. That is the job of your endocannabinoid system. And when it isn't functioning well, it's not helping these other systems do a great job. So the endocannabinoid system, it is smack dab in the middle of viral response. And again, here's another study that just talks about why those receptors, the CB2 receptor specifically, as Dr. Raymond and I talked about, is really important in helping your immune system function at its highest level. We need to create homeostasis. We need to create balance. The homeostasis of my immune system is really key. Understand, we want to have an increased response early in the process, right? That's why our body starts a fever. But if that fever is prolonged, it can cause damage. The reason we start the fever is to prevent collateral damage and make sure that we're not going to die, right? That's the point. It also affects how fast the virus is going to replicate. We want to slow that down. For example, H5N1 replicates so fast that our bodies panic. And that's bad news for our body because it creates what we call a scorched earth type situation where nothing is going to work, right? Because our body is destroying everything. It's like, we got to get out there and kill this. The beautiful news about all of this is that cannabinoids, certain cannabinoids, have shown extremely powerful effects to help calm our immune response if it needs to be calmed. So here's a question: is that the wrong direction to slow it down with viral infections, or is it the wrong direction to speed it up? So oddly enough, and very interestingly enough, CBD, CBG, and other cannabinoids, but not THC, they change depending on the state of your immune system. Now, I don't know if you understand how that statement is critical. So most research look at a situation where your immune response is too high. For example, an autoimmune disease, or you have inflammatory issues, neuroinflammation that can lead to anxiety or depression. But what about the opposite, right? Sometimes there are situations where your immune system needs to fire up and it needs to get going, but not go out of control. This is one of the most amazing things I can tell you about the endocannabinoid system. After spending over 1,000 hours in NIH research, reading studies, articles, seeing what doctors have posted, talking with doctors, and amazing facet of CBD, CBG specifically, is that the effect is not one directional. The effect is not one directional. In cancer research, here are 3 examples. You had a healthy cell with low inflammation. The cannabinoids didn't affect the inflammatory cells at all, or the inflammatory levels, because there was no inflammation. When you had a healthy cell that had high inflammation, the cannabinoids went in and reduced the inflammation. And when we had a cancerous cell, the cannabinoids could actually go in and increase in the cancerous cell inflammation to create apoptosis. That is revolutionary. It is revolutionary. Most substances will push in one direction indefinitely, like benzos for GABA and SSRIs for serotonin. They're perfect examples. They only push in one direction, and you need higher doses, which will keep increasing your levels. Cannabinoids don't do that. That's why benzos can be dangerous. You need to keep increasing it. Cannabinoids do not cause sedation or overdose with your GABA or serotonin syndrome with serotonin. They're nothing more than groundbreaking. Nothing more than groundbreaking. CBG and CBD, they will act as constraints on various systems under the endocannabinoid system regulation on both the low and the high end. So they won't allow it to get too low and they won't allow it to get too high. And that is nothing short of a miracle. That is why yesterday when I was talking with Dr. Raymond and he was sharing with me some of the images and pictures, and I felt this groundbreaking, this doctor gets it, he understands and the importance of this, and it made me so happy. Now let's talk about THC for a moment and why, as a company of Sukavu, none of our products have THC. THC is different. It pushes in one direction and only one direction. It pushes on your CB1 receptor. In terms of viral infection, the research is not positive for THC. It is an immunosuppressive regardless of the symptoms needs. Regardless of what you need, it's an immunosuppressive, and you may not need that. Here's the study that talks about that. So just understand that's part of the reason we don't have any THC in our products. We believe it's not good. THC should be avoided during infection. So specifically in that study, it's talking about THC. So what about CBG and CBD and the other cannabinoids that we have and their immune response to viruses? In general, they calm the immune response during periods of inflammation. Inflammation, by the way, when we use that word, it's just code for a heightened immune response. And we want that at the onset, of viral infections. We do, and it's your body's natural way. And that's why we see its effects on the damage side from infection, okay? So together, our findings highlight the inflammatory effects of CBD in the viral model of MS. It's right here. This is right, again, another article that talks about it. Here's what the studies are saying and showing. There are many studies on NIH, from sepsis to strokes, where CBG and CBD help calm the immune response to the damage and they improve your function. A very relevant study on lung function is right here. This was lung function after exposure to infection in mice. It's incredible to show how CBD decreased the total lung resistance, which is really, again, it's really incredible. And honestly, it's nothing short of revolutionary. Coronavirus patients describe it feels like a chest tightening and lack of oxygen, which is why lung function is so important. The immune system, when they feel that chest tightening, it's the lungs filling up with immune agents, and sometimes that kills us before the virus does. I think of it as an autoimmune disorder with a huge bang, right? It can create that cytokine storm. So what about virus studies with cannabinoids? First of all, we want to make sure it doesn't suppress our immune system when we need our immune system to respond. Cannabinoids like CBG and CBD may be in the high-end immune response, as we saw with that study. And it demonstrates at the time of viral infection that it's going to exert long-lasting effects. It's just amazing. I mean, I don't know how to put it any more succinctly than what your body does when you have the right cannabinoids. It functions better. So here's a few other key points. Immune system uses cell death to get rid of infected cells. That's called apoptosis. Cannabinoids like CBG and CBD, they have a direct effect there, as with cancer cells, just like I showed you and talked about in that study with cancer. Dr. Raymond and I were specifically talking about cancer cells and specific cancers and how cannabinoids really can change the world because of what it can do as far as proliferation of cells. And when they added cannabinoids like CBG and CBD, there's an increase in virally infected cells, but not the healthy cells. This is, again, extremely important. That selective effect is the key when your immune system is on a warpath. We want the immune system to only do what it needs to do. Again, a few more studies. This is a study that talked about sarcoma tumor cells and how it killed them versus the normal endothelium. Very, very important. What about viral replication? Here's a study on viral hepatitis, but CBD, inhibited HCV inhibited the replication by 86.4%, right? We don't want those things to replicate at 10 microns. What about question I get to sometimes from doctor? What about interferon, one of the medications that has shown promise against coronavirus? Why does that work? Why is that interferon? Why is it doing well? Why do HIV medications slow down? They show potential when it comes to virus, specifically coronavirus. And the main reason is because they produce little protons called interferons, which play a role in immune protection against viruses. And so those drugs and those studies tend to show that those drugs sometimes work well with coronavirus. Chronic inflammation studies. Here you go. Here's a study on chronic inflammation, autoimmune. Those studies show that cannabinoids like CBG and CBD, they can suppress interferon. And because they're biphasic, right, it can go one way or the other. It can increase or decrease. That applies when an interferon is needed, right, such as with a viral infection. Another study looked at HIV. THC, not CBD or CBG, it suppressed the secretion of interferon. It's incredible what CBG, CBD, CBN, CBC, what those cannabinoids do. And again, why we don't have THC in any of our products. Looking at HIV again, THC is not a good fit for viral infections like the flu or like coronavirus. They're fast, they're acute, they explode in the body, and THC is not a good fit for that. CBD, CBG, those are fantastic because they don't suppress the key immune responders. That's what the endocannabinoid system is tasked with, right? It's getting the right ship across to the immune system. There is a time and a place for interferon spike. And here's what the researchers said here. Our previous study demonstrated that CBD either inhibited or enhanced the interferon production in response to either optimal or suboptimal T cell activation. There is not another system in your body that works like the endocannabinoid system in adding or taking away depending on what it needs. IL-2. IL-2 is one of the cytokines that's used by our immune system to fight infection. Its role is it's part of your body's natural response to getting when you have microbial infections and in discriminating between foreign or non-self and self. That's its role. So when we tie those pieces together, we have T cells, and I talked about them. Remember, they're the players. They're the generals of the immune system. They scan for intruders or viruses, and then it rallies the troops and says, okay, guys, we got to go fight. The last article that I shared shows that CBD boosts two of the T cells' powerful weapons, which are interferon and IL-2, when T cell functioning is lacking, when it's not working very well. So when T cell activity is too strong, then cannabinoids can actually suppress that activity, which is the key to autoimmune and inflammatory states, right? We need to be able to tell them to relax. Levels of T cells in the lungs are important for the new coronaviruses that we're seeing that are attacking the world right now. The acute phase of SARS in humans is associated with a severe reduction in the number of T cells in the blood. So why is the core so important, and why do we need it in our system? And the core for us at Sukavu is simply a protein, a greens, and CBG drops. And I'll show you what those are in just a minute when I click off of this screen. But why are those so important? Well, first of all, this is your immune system. This is our immune system, right? The best thing we can do, and I say this, and I've said this a million times to people that have heard me as I go out and talk about this, they talk about coronavirus or they talk about the flu or anything else. We can do lots of things. We can wash our hands, we can wear masks. We can do lots of different things that we can do. But at the end of the day, you need to have a strong immune system. And the best way to have a strong immune system is to have a strong endocannabinoid system. You need good nutrition. You need good cannabinoids. Autoimmune medications, they suppress immune function. Antiviral medications also jack up your immune function. None of them respond according to the needs of the system. It only stops it and goes one way, which is why side effects can be nasty at either extreme, which is why you need cannabinoids that work, that can go multi-directional, like CBG and CBD. THC's effect is one directional. There's a study here that showed the inhibition of IL-2 even 7 days later with THC in mice. It's part of the system that detects the presence of a virus. We don't want to inhibit that, right? It's a friend from a foe. It needs to do it. There's a listing here. This chart is like 17 pages, but again, I'll share this. I'll put it in the back office so everybody can see it. You're welcome to go on and look at all of the studies. These viruses, HIV is an interesting one. It's heartbreaking, but HIV is a very fascinating, very, very fascinating virus to me because it targets the T cells. It targets the generals, right? That's its job, is it goes after the T cells. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It disarms the very cell that's designed to protect against them, which is why it's so devastating, because T cells are, they say go fight. And if they don't know who to tell you to go fight, then your body is attacking itself. And there's an interesting facet with the new breed of the coronaviruses, from SARS to MERS to the Wuhan coronavirus, that showed a significant suicide, right? Apoptosis, or drop in T cells during the critical period of the disease. And so what that means is it's killing the T cells. The T cells are undergoing apoptosis. And that's important because if that's odd, which it is, T cells should be increasing. They shouldn't be committing cellular suicide. And that's part of the reason why they think some of the HIV drugs have some promise to work with coronavirus. Hopefully, again, that makes sense. Researchers have pinpointed the shared mechanism. And that information is here. So then you can kind of look at that. Basically, what they're saying is that the new strains of coronavirus share similar pathways to HIV. And there's a link between the proteins. I'm going to kind of flip through that. What's interesting about that for me has just always been how HIV drugs were working. So the question, I guess, as we kind of wrap things up a little bit, is, are there other ways to naturally boost the system without the side effects, right? The answer is yeah. And you guys have it. You have it available to you through Sukavu, as we've created what we feel like is the best cannabinoids. CBD increases, the brain adenosine levels by reduction. Those are big words that, it's reuptake. Oh, my bad. When I wrote that. But when you have increased adenosine, it's associated with neuroprotection and decreased inflammation after brain trauma. It's a neuroprotectant. Cannabinoids can be a neuroprotectant, which is huge. The pathway for CBG and CBD's anti-inflammatory effects. Dr. Raymond shared with me, we talked about this yesterday, the pathway and how it works with the CB2 receptor, and why that receptor is so important in decreasing inflammation and how that interferes with the virus's ability to replicate. We talked about how with cancer patients, it actually creates apoptosis on the cancer cell. Those things are so important, right? We have a system that controls the tightening and loosening of our cardiovascular system. The tightening agent is called angiotensin. That's been made popular with blood pressure medication. ACE2 inhibitors, right? Also popular with blood pressure medication, and ARBs, or angiotensin receptor blockers. cannabinoids, here's a side effect of cannabinoids. And one of our products, we specifically talk about this. It lowers blood pressure. I don't have specific research today on CBD and angiotensin receptors, but we do know that CBG is an anti-hypertension and antiarrhythmic. And what we do find is that cannabinoids like CBG and CBD calms the hyperactivation of the immune system in the lungs. And that's really important as we talk about some of the new viruses that are coming out as far as lung function goes, right? CBD specifically decreases total lung resistance and elastance. And so that's a good thing when it comes to the cytokine issues that people are having in their lungs. Basically, this is a lot, and I know it's a lot to cover, but CBD calms inflammatory response and improves lung function for people that are taking it. Leukocytes, that's important as well. It's the white blood cells immune responder. Helps, sometimes it creates leaky lung. People have heard of that. ACE2 receptors can be easy access for the coronavirus to wreak havoc and set off a storm in our lungs. Like I said, that cytokine storm. CBD and CBG appear to calm that storm. So it's generally not the virus that kills us, our immune system scorched earth response. I'm going to end this now and kick back on. That was a lot. And I know it was a lot. I'm going to put me on video here. And like I said, I don't make things look very pretty, but I try to simplify it. And if I could put it in simple terms, I would just say, oh, this. Meeting with Dr. Raymond, meeting with Rosa has been a blessing in my life because Keith and Crystal, Deshelle, Zane, me, that's me, I'm talking in third person. All the people that have been with us for the last couple of years, we have a mission. We have a mission to share this information with the world. What the world needs to understand is that cannabinoids, phytocannabinoids mixed with good nutrition, like I talked about the core, our core system are these drops, CBG positive drops, super greens of an antioxidant and pre and probiotic mixed with cannabinoids that I can take every single day. We have a nitric oxide product for blood pressure. We have a protein that's a full meal replacement. It's low glycemic, it's vegan, it's plant-based, it tastes amazing. That when we have the core and we are taking it into our bodies and getting the right cannabinoids, those cannabinoids can positively affect our immune system. That's the number one takeaway. I hope you learned all of those big things about, but the endocannabinoid system, its job is to regulate function of my body. Its job is to help my immune system do what it's supposed to do. That if it needs to speed up, it will speed up. And if it needs to slow down, it will slow down. And yesterday, again, when I was talking with Rosa and Dr. Raymond was sharing with me information about cancer research, I was so excited because as I've spent over 1,000 hours on NIH studies, this is what we know. It's not me saying it. It's not even my opinion. All I'm doing is sharing with you the information that doctors and scientists have studied and already know. And if it's okay, and I didn't tell him about this, but Dr. Raymond, if you are on, I'm going to put him on the spot maybe a little bit. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Raymond. And if you had anything to add, I would be glad to listen to it. Oh, there he is. Dr. Raymond, thank you so much for.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So do you have anything in your studies and anything that you've talked about with me even? Did I mess that up too badly or did it? Hopefully it made sense.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zen. It was a very good presentation and a very good research. All this information with evidence-based medicine. We know that almost 95%, 90 to 95% of all these diseases are associated with immunity. And CBD cannabinoid are something very good at something very good, a substance very good for this to fight against all the disease. And so, so concerning the topic of today, I really appreciate all the information you gave us, and it's very, very positive. Those information. I think that we are going to do something very good, and there is a great relation between immunity and cancer also, as you said, and it is the first cause of death all around the world. And for this treatment are very heavy, and we have high side effect on this of this treatment. And we know that cannabinoids are now recognized to be able to help in a natural way. We can consider them like complementary and supplementary treatment for cancer. So several testimony demonstrate its curative action in the world. We know that diabetes, cancer, inflammation, hypertension, and certain chronic diseases, it has been shown that all these can be controlled by cannabinoids. So also know that several international studies are showing that demonstrating that there is demonstrating the effectiveness of cannabinoids in the treatment of cancer. There is a good relation between immunity and cancer. So maybe the next time I will share certain slides, or maybe I can do it now. I don't know if I can do it now or next time. I don't know your program, if we have enough time for that.
I think you're here and you've got information. If people would like to see it, I would like to see it. I know yesterday, as we were talking about cancer research and different things,
okay.
I think it's great. So I think I just gave you permission to share. So
okay.
If you want to share your screen. I know you had some things that were way prettier than mine, for sure.
But if you permit me now, maybe I can do it too.
While Dr. Raymond's doing that, I think one of the things that we talked about yesterday is Dr. Raymond and I, we were talking about cancer. And he specifically has been looking at cannabinoids and how they help with cancer and cancer patients, and the proliferation of cells, and how, you know, our bodies, I think he was telling me, you know, everybody has cancer in them. It's just whether or not it reacts, or how, if it takes off and goes, and how cannabinoids can help prevent that. And to me, it's one of the most important things in our company is how can we help people live healthier and not end up with cancer, right? If we have cancer preventative cannabinoids, that would be amazing. And so Dr. Raymond shared with us yesterday with Rosa and I and another couple doctors some of the graphics of how it works and why cannabinoids are so important and how they work on the CB2 receptors. So hopefully if he can get that working, that will be incredible. I know after yesterday we talked and I got so excited that I knew today we'd be talking about our immune system, and I got so excited after what he shared yesterday that I should have, it's my fault. I should have told him, but I appreciated so much what he shared with me on the prevention and care of cancer research. And we're very excited about the opportunity to work with Dr. Raymond and with the other doctors, Dr. Tetka, the doctors that I've had a chance to talk with and meet over the last 2 weeks as we've shared this across the world. So let's see, Dr. Tetka asked a question. Are there any side effects of CBD? The great news is the number one side effect is that it's going to reduce inflammation. No, you can't take too much. The second question is, about what action cannabinoids have on the immune system in coronavirus disease when we know it's an pneumocyte 2 that are targets of the virus. I'm going to defer a little bit to Dr. Raymond for that. Oh, and I lost that screen. So we're back to him. There we go. Okay. Looks like he's on. But I will answer that. Yeah. All technology is new for me. So
I want to apologize. Excuse me for this, please, for spending your time. I cannot work with my computer. So I did a small, just a small presentation on effectiveness of cannabinoid in the prevention of and care of cancer. We try to do a summary of certain studies, as Mr. Zen did it already. So we know that cancer is the main cause of death in the world now. We know that the treatments are very heavy with a lot of side effects. And now we recognize cannabinoids as are recognized has been able to help in a natural way. We have to consider also that complementary and supplementary treatment can be considered like a complementary and supplementary treatment. So several testimony demonstrate the curative action of cannabinoids as far as inflammation, diabetes, cancer, hypertension, and certain chronic diseases are concerned. Several international scientific publications demonstrate also the effectiveness of cannabinoids for the treatment of cancer. For example, there is a study of the action of cannabinoids against cancer. You have certain publications in famous journal all around the world. A study of by the British Journal of Medicine of Oncology. All those studies are showing that CBD is something that can help for cancer. So a new therapeutic target against glioblastoma. Glioblastoma is a cancer of the brain. So and the effect on breast cancer, Mr. Zen said that already, and we try to discuss on the biomolecular mechanism that make this better. Now, concerning the breast cancer, we know that we have on the breast certain receptor of cannabinoid. So once those receptors are activated, there is a series of mechanisms that lead to certain things like the cell cycle is going to stop, and therefore there will be no more proliferation of cells. So, and this is going to lead to apoptosis. And secondly, now this there is another mechanism in relation to the CB2 receptors that lead to migration that inhibit migration and invasion. So this mechanism that apoptosis, proliferation, migration, and invasion are mechanisms that are associated with severe cancer. So the cannabinoid tend to stop this mechanism and block it. So concerning now the angiogenesis, that is something like a new revascularization of tumors. There is also a mechanism that permits the CB2 receptor to act on angiogenesis and block it. So if there is no angiogenesis, there will be no dissemination of the cancer. There will be no metastasis. So all this figure shows us that we cannot just contribute to the fight against cancer and block the worsening of this disease by using phytocannabinoids. So There is also studies that shows the effect against certain blood cancers like leukemias, myelomas, lymphomas. The effect of CBD and its synergy with a drug that is called bortezomib in multiple myelomas is known. There is a study published in American Journal of Cancer on it also. So we have also an effect on lung cancer. You can appreciate as this cannabinoid can act on all the mechanisms of the body and regulate them. So we have done this study published in Journal of Biochemical Pharmacology in November 2014 concerning this destruction of cancer cell by transform activated lymphocyte killer cells via regulation of ECM1 receptors. This receptor are also in link with cannabinoid receptor, CB1, CB2. So you have now, there is a figure there where you have, we can discover that cannabinoid activate a similar pro-apoptic mechanism in different type of cancer cells. So we are going to see that in this list, you have all the cancer, and you are going to discover that apoptosis is the mechanism that is acting on all cancer. That is CBD is using this mechanism to stop the cancer and to prevent it. You know that everybody has cancer in the body, and therefore there is a need for us to avoid it evolution to real cancer. We can stop the progression of cancer by lifestyle, avoid smoking, avoiding alcohol also, and making sport, and fighting against stress also. But we have to know that with CBD, cannabinoid, we can do something like to fight against cancer. The action is determined on this figure. I'm talking about apoptosis and autophagy. So we can see another effect. There is also research on colorectal cancer. Colon carcinogenic is inhibited by cannabigerol, CBG. The study was published also in American Journal of Carcinogenesis in September 2014. We can fight also against stomach cancer. It's very important to know that. The study was published also. The prostate cancer now, we know that there is inhibition of growth of prostate carcinoma in vitro or in vivo. This is important to know. And now we have this figure that shows us how cannabinoid works against tumor cells. You have there you have prostate cancer, you have also breast cancer. And you are going to understand that once the CB1 and CB2 receptor are activated, there is a series of reactions that lead to apoptosis. And there is a series of reactions that lead to cell growth inhibition. There is a series of reactions that lead to cell cycle inhibition and cell proliferation. The mechanism in red, you are going to see that apoptosis is the main mechanism that that is called cell program death. And we can see in this figure that we can discover the biomechanism that by which CB1 receptor and CB2 can be activated by cannabinoid and act on cancer. So activation of CB1 and CB2 receptor regulate the expression of genes encoding the manufacture of cancer cells, because it is like a factory. Those cancer cells are there. They are activated by genes. Genes are from the nucleus. So there is a sort of program for the nucleus that determine and encode the manufacture of cancer cells. So metastatic cells reactivate these genes as soon as they found in healthy tissues. So these cancer cells that are going to migrate to normal tissue, and when they are there, there is a reactivation of genes. So CBD works by modulating the expression of these genes, ID1, ID2, ID3, thereby preventing the growth, spread, and progression of cancer. CBD potentiates complete the effect of chemotherapy. That is, now the main treatment of cancer is chemotherapy, but it has been shown that patients under chemotherapy, they tolerate better the treatment when they take also CBD. And we know all of us that alcohol and tobacco is not good for genes, because they instead activate genes and favorize the multiplication of cancer cells. So there is also an action on liver cancer. This is just everybody knows this information. Just to say that I wanted to prepare something for today very fast, and evaluation of anti-proliferative effect of cannabinoids on human hepatocarcinoma cells. This is known. The study is there, and they can demonstrate easily. Can be demonstrated. There is also pancreatic cancer. So this is apoptosis in pancreatic tumor cells can be induced by cannabinoids. This is important to know. So there is also the same effect on skin cancer. Activation of CB2 receptor inhibits transmigration of melanoma cells, that is metastasis. So there is also a publication of this study is in the International Journal of Biomolecular Science in May 2014. So now there is also cannabinoids can also fight against other cancers like bladder, Kaposi sarcoma, ear and nose, throat, throat, nose, ENT, biliary, ovaries. So now this there is the efficiency of cannabinoids against cancer is depend on the dosage. That is, the more you give it, the better the action is on this cancer. So this is another figure that we discover with Mr. Zen very yesterday. We discussed together, and today his presentation was very good, and I have certain information also that he gave already. So there is certain mechanism of cancer, because in the body there is uncontrolled growth of cells. There is also sustained angiogenesis. The third thing is the metastatic capability. Now, when we add this cannabinoid on it, what is going to happen is that cancer cells are going to change their behavior. So, because this cannabinoid is going to induce the apoptosis, that is the dead cells, the death of the cell, programmed death of the cell, and is going to inhibit proliferation of these cancer cells. So there is also inhibition of angiogenic signal. Angiogenic signal is the signal that permit revascularization of tissues where you have cancer cells. Now, the other mechanism that permit us to fight against cancer with cannabinoid is inhibition of adhesion, because these cancer cells are doing certain adhesion on tissue. When there is adhesion, there is a sort of transfer of genes, and the genes is going to produce this contamination and this production of cancer cells. So inhibition also of migration, and there is inhibition of invasion. So the pathophysiological mechanism of cancer is multiple. There is dysplasia, uncontrolled multiplication, angiogenesis, metastasis, generalized cancer, leading to death. Now, there is action also of cannabinoid on cancer cells. I talk about apoptosis, block of proliferation of cancer cell, block of angiogenesis by blocking its signal, inhibition of adhesion, migration, and invasion. So at the biomolecular level, what is happening? There is activation of CB1 and CB2 receptors, leading to a series of chemical neosynaptic and hormonal reactions, causing apoptosis, inhibition of cell growth, and inhibition of cell cycle. So I want to thank all of you. I want to apologize also for the delay. I was surprised by the chairman for this presentation, but I prepared it. I tried to prepare it this morning very fast to put something in our mouth concerning this cannabinoid that are very good product and that are going to revolutionize the science in few years today. The research are going on, and I think that Mr. Zen is in advance concerning what he did with this cannabinoid. I hope that with time, I'm going to improve my level in English to better communicate with you. So I thank you very much for your attention. One more time, I apologize for the introduction that was not very good. Thank you very much.
Dr. Raymond, you're incredible. And quite frankly, it's my fault. I put you on the spot, but I was so happy yesterday, and I couldn't stop smiling because I knew after our conversation and talking about all of this that you were right. You were with us. You were right with us. We've got a mission. We've got to help people. And Dr. Raymond, it's incredible. It's nice to have people like you and like Irene who came on and just shared, her experience of 12 years of how, chemotherapy treatment and immunotherapy for cancer patients. So Irene, thank you. Our goal is to help make this better. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I want to share one thing. I want to just show you something. I'm going to share my screen. This is just a, let's see, hopefully, can you guys, yep, you're probably seeing my screen. This is a report. This is a lab report of one of our tinctures. If you go onto our website, you can see some of the products that we have. This is a 600 milligram bottle of our CBG plus, meaning there's more CBG. One of the things Dr. Raymond and I talked about was those receptors, the CB1 and CB2 receptors, and activating them. The reason that I love CBG, this cannabigerol that Dr. Raymond also talked about, is because CBG fires up the CB1 and CB2 receptor, both of them. We have all of our products lab tested. So this is a lab report. When you look at this is a 600 milligram bottle. It ends up having 663 total milligrams, but there's 187 milligrams of CBD. There's 408 milligrams of CBG, 22 of CBN, 46 of CBC. But what you'll notice is there is no THC. We want to be able to share these products in Cameroon and in Paris and in New York and wherever you may be. We want to be able to share these throughout the world and not have people worry about it being illegal or about getting someone high. That is not our goal. Our goal is exactly what Dr. Raymond and Irene and Keith and Crystal and what we're talking about is to help people live cancer-free, to live, heart disease-free, to help them live better, healthier lives. And so I just wanted to just comment and say thank you so much, everybody. We are excited to work with medical practitioners. We're not a company that we I don't know how to say this. We take this very seriously because we feel like we have a mission sharing with people. Irene, for people who are struggling with pain, I'm a big believer in CBG, the drops. I would have them take drops. Anybody who's struggling with pain, joint pain, muscle pain, we have them take the drops. And then we have a muscle gel that they can rub on the exterior, which is great anti-inflammatory, but also can help with pain really quickly. I refer to that as an inside out approach, right? We take something internally to help reduce inflammation, help our immune system, help our body do good. And then if I need to target an area, our muscle gel is off the charts good. I know you'll love it. And I know anybody who uses it will love it because it's so good. So again, we're very, very thankful for you guys. It's been a little over an hour, so we took a little longer than we wanted to. And again, Dr. Raymond, thank you for letting me put you on the spot. I can't wait to meet him in person. I'm just going to give him a big hug because people like Irene and Dr. Raymond and Rosa and Pam, who's on, I see Pam's smiling face. Pam's been with us for a long time. They're the people that make us want to grow the best plants, to extract the best cannabinoids. It is you who keeps us going as a company, and we appreciate you and we thank you. So everybody have a wonderful day wherever you are, but we're going to end today's presentation. It's recorded so we can share it, but thank you so much, everybody. Have an amazing day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you too. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Raymond.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.